He's poised to make his debut with the midterm budget speech tomorrow. But who exactly is our new finance minister, Enoch Godongwana, and why was he put in charge of one of the government's most difficult jobs? An ANC heavyweight, Godongwana is a former economic development deputy minister, and some analysts believe he's a no-name with a firm economics background and has a good anchoring, politically speaking. Yet Godongwana's involvement in a scandal regarding a multi-million rand union pension fund deal from a decade ago still hovers over his head to this day. So what does economist Dawie Roodt think? Well, he joins us now to weigh in on Godongwana's new job. Dawie, thank you so much for joining us. We know that he's got trade union genesis, he has centrist views, a Conservative Party loyalist. What do you know about Enoch Godongwana and your thoughts on his work ethic?
Good morning to you. Yes, well, I think he's probably the best that the ANC could come up with. He's taking over from Tito Mboweni, but Tito Mboweni made it very clear that he's only there to keep the seat warm for somebody else to take over. And I think that's the best choice, probably, to appoint this new Minister of Finance. He was also responsible for economic policy at the ANC, and that means that he's very much in tune and with economic policy of the ruling party. Not only that, he's a senior guy. He knows all the important people. And listening to some of his comments he's made, I think the financial markets are also quite happy with the new Minister of Finance. Of course, there's a bit of a skeleton in the closet, you've referred to that, and that's a bit of an issue for a Minister of Finance to have something like that in his background. But as far as his qualifications are concerned, as far as his seniority is concerned, and as far as his contacts are concerned, I think he is probably the best guy for the job. Of course, the job that lies ahead of him is going to be an extremely difficult one. The fiscal accounts are in a very bad state, and today will certainly be his first big test.
Dawie, does he have any room to maneuver following a very small commodity boom this year that was perhaps unexpected?
Yeah, that is a bit of it leaves him a bit of movement space, I would say. We are currently experiencing quite a nice commodity boom, actually. South Africa is a commodity exporting country. And that means that economic growth this year will be much better than initially thought. But that also means that the tax collections of the Minister of Finance is running well ahead of budgeted estimates. So we talk about 150 billion or even more extra money that will become available to the Minister of Finance. But unfortunately, that is only going to fill part of this big hole. The fiscal accounts, like I've mentioned, has become completely unstable, unsustainable. We're spending far too much money on social issues. We're spending far too much money on the wage bill. And the debt levels of the state has reached very, very high, record high levels, in fact. And remember, you also have to include the debt of Eskom and other state-owned enterprises when you talk about debt of government, because they've guaranteed most of that debt. So he's taking over at an extremely difficult time, and it's going to be very difficult for the Minister of Finance to say no, because he's got this little bit of extra money, and he needs to say no to calls for an increase in wages, for calls for additional grants and the like, and that's going to be the most difficult part for him.
Dawie, Tito Mboweni said several times no more bailouts for especially SAA, and I would think Eskom's included in that. But what choice does Godongwana really have at this stage with the state of our SOEs?
Yes, I think he's probably going to follow what we saw under Tito Mboweni. There are a few state-owned enterprises that I think needs to be bailed out. We simply do not have a choice on that. And that includes the land bank as an example. I think there could be some money for the land bank. But the other ones, like, for example, South African Airways, I'm sorry, they're not going to get money. In the case of Eskom was also very deep in trouble, but there's already an amount of money that has been put aside for Eskom every year. Every year we the taxpayers, pay over 60 billion rand to Eskom. So Eskom is unsustainable, the finances of Eskom, but I think they have been sorted, and that's the biggest one. But for the other ones, like, for example, South African Airways, the Nel, all those lot, I don't think they're going to get extra money, and I think that's the right way to handle this. They've become far too dependent on the taxpayer. They are operationally, financially have been run into the ground, but the only exception that I can really think of is the land bank. The land bank is really crucial because we talk about food production in the country.
Dawie, last question. How are we as consumers likely to emerge from tomorrow? Any tax cuts, any relief for the consumer?
No. No, certainly not. When you talk about taxes, this is in any way not the platform for that. The Minister of Finance, when he makes changes to policy, like, for example, changes to taxes, that will only be announced in the February budget. This is only a report back opportunity for the Minister. There certainly will not be changes to taxes. There could be some announcements or some spending increases, but very little. So as far as the average man in the street is concerned, don't expect too much. This is only a report back opportunity for the Minister of Finance.
All right, thank you so much. That was Economist Dawie Roodt. Thank you so much, as always, for your time.